about a thing known as a Zeer Pot.
The Zeer Pot, reinvented by Nigerian teacher Muhammad Abba, will revolutionize farmers' markets in Darfur, Sudan. Before the Zeer Pot was introduced to Darfur, some farmers lost up to half their crops at daily markets. Without the Zeer Pot, their foods were subject to the dry heat of the desert. The Zeer Pot is a refrigeration device that's amazing in its simplicity. It consists of 2 terracotta pots, some sand, and a wet cloth. The smaller pot sits inside a larger pot, and the space between the 2 pots is filled with damp sand. The moisture soaks through the pots, and airflow over and around the Zeer Pot evaporates the moisture, thereby pulling more moisture from the sand. This causes an evaporative cooling effect as heat is removed from the outer surface of the Zeer Pot. In Sudan, the first trials of the Zeer Pot proved successful. Eggplants, for example, stayed fresh for 21 days instead of 2, and tomatoes and peppers lasted for 3 weeks or more. African spinach, which usually spoils after a day, remained edible after 5 days in the Zeer Pot. In an off-grid situation, a Zeer Pot could also be used to keep medication cool enough to protect its effectiveness. For my Zeer Pot, I've chosen 2 unglazed pots. From my reading, I understand that it's perfectly acceptable to use a glazed pot for the inside pot. We want the lip of the inner pot to be the same height as the lip of the outer pot, so we're going to put some sand underneath that inner pot to raise it up. Having a layer of moisture under the inner pot will increase the evaporative cooling effect on the bottom of the Zeer Pot. Alright, looks like we're just about full here. We may have to add a little bit more later after we wet down the sand. This looks pretty good for now though, so let's fire this baby up. To measure temperature inside and outside the pot, I'm going to use this indoor-outdoor thermometer set. Slowly add water to the sand. You're trying to saturate the sand, but you don't want it to be over full. If you put too much water in, the pot will float out of the sand, and you'll have to push it back down, and then use a dry rag to soak up the excess water. Okay, the next step in getting this thing going is to wet down a rag to the top of it. I trimmed my rag back so there wasn't much overhang. I didn't want to block air circulation around the clay pot. It should take a couple of hours for the water to soak through the outer clay pot, but it'll start cooling immediately. I'm going to use the smoke from an incense here to show you that there is a light breeze blowing past the pot. Okay, well, here we go. This is Florida, and we're starting this test with 47% humidity in the air. Well, let's take a look at our result 1 hour later. Well, look at that. The temp inside the pot is 6 degrees cooler than the temperature outside the pot. The pot held that 6 degrees until the breeze died down. When the breeze died, the pot could only maintain a 3.5 degree temperature difference. A while later, the relative humidity rose, and then the pot would only maintain a 1.5 degree difference. Alright, day 2 of testing. Still in the shade, but a lot heavier breeze today. Same sensor as yesterday, and in it goes. Okay, time to install the moist cloth. Humidity of the air is down today. It's at 49%. Look at that. We got a 10 degree temperature difference. That's doing alright. The secret to our